Hello and welcome to today's Student CPD session. The focus of this session is based on active listening. It is very much a possibility that you can hear what people are saying, you can hear music, you can have a story on in the background or the telly playing, but not be listening. You're not taking in the information. So, what follows for today are 5 pieces of advice of ways that you can make sure that your listening is done so actively, that you are taking on board what is being said to you. It's unrealistic to expect you to actively listen for a long period of time because it's just so much hard work for your brain. But there are things that you need to be aware of that you can be doing that is going to make the pieces of information that are crucial. So when your teacher is delivering the content, not necessarily when the person sat next to you is moaning about their weekend. And again, knowing the difference between those two things would be really effective when you look at your priorities. So let's look at these different pieces of advice, and then there'll be a short task at the end that's going to ask you to think about which ones are most relevant to you. The first one is to think about how you start each participation, each conversation, or each lesson. Approach it looking to learn something. When you're scanning for information, so if, for example, you had an extract that you had to give evidence from, you very quickly look for the thing that you're going to use as your evidence. Why not apply that to a conversation? So when your teacher or when the person who's giving you instruction is talking to you, look for it. Look for the thing that you need. What's the information that you need? And consider each piece. So if you have someone who's delivering a presentation, consider writing down what it is that you need to know from that person. What piece of information are you hoping to get from the conversation or the interaction that you're having? If you know, for example, that your topic is going to be on crime and deviance in sociology, one of the questions you could be looking to answer is who is the key theorist for this particular element of crime and deviance? If you gave yourself a list of questions that you need answering for that session, they could formulate the process that you're going through to make sure you're getting that information, that you're paying attention, and potentially going to stop you from getting distracted. Okay, the next one. You have a picture of me in a mask, and I think one of the most useful things about masks, and potentially one of the most damaging things about masks, is you have to pay close attention to what people are saying because half of the facial expressions have been removed. You can't tell if someone's smiling, you can't tell if someone's screaming or angry, and so what they say becomes so much more important. The next piece of advice, so the second piece, is going to tell you to stop talking and focus closely on the speaker. In a recent session, I heard somebody say that you can't learn whilst you're talking. So consider if maybe you need to do a little less of the oral work and allow other people to take over. The next point of God is in the detail. So when a conversation is taking place, and again, it ties into the first piece of what are you hoping to get from that piece of information, make sure that you're able to pick up and summarize the information that you've heard. Make sure as you're taking notes that you're prioritizing it, highlight it, underline, look for the things that stand out. One of the best things that I like about learning practices are when you listen to a video or a slide of information and you wait 24 hours, you come back. What do you remember? Because it won't be everything. It'll be the things that stood out to you most, the things that were so significant to you at the time. That's where the detail is. So look for the accuracies or inaccuracies, as the case might be, and consider why did they stand out to you? What is their significance? The next one is something that I've spoken about in terms of your reflective skills, building good relationships with your tutors, and it forms also a part of metacognitions. It's always useful to reframe the information that you have been given. So you say it back almost. You would say, oh, so as I've understood it, what you're telling us is. Now, this wouldn't work for an entire lesson, and it would be inappropriate for you to repeat back exactly what the teacher has said to you. But I would actively encourage you that in every lesson, you should be asking at least 2 questions about content. Now, that's not you answering the questions as the teacher posed them, and it's not you saying whether you understood something or not. It's you actively asking questions on the content so that you can show that you've grasped it. And it might just be along the lines of, so are you saying then that Becca would suggest the only type of crime is one that offends somebody? Allowing your tutor to reply and give response. It cements your understanding and it gives the tutor the opportunity to guide you again if anything has gone astray. The last piece builds on number 4. Try to encourage with feedback. As a language teacher and as a linguist, you have a number of opportunities to look at the gender divide in language. And it's often said that women do much more non-verbal and verbal affirmations than men do. But it is always useful to show that you have understood a concept. I find myself frequently saying, is that clear? Does that make sense? Is that understood? Because I'm looking to see that the information I have delivered has done so with clarity, it's concise, and it's usable for everybody that's going to be accessing it. If you get that feedback without prompting, it gives you a sense of confidence. Similar to when a student gives their opinions or point of view, I don't ignore it. They've said something and I want to respect that and I want to acknowledge that. So I give a form of feedback. So yes, I can see your point of view there and that's really interesting because, or, oh, that's an interesting concept. I'd not considered that before. Things along those sort of lines are really helpful in terms of making sure that you've paid attention to what's being said and that you are actively listening and not just surrounded by noise. I did say that at the end of today's slide, I would be encouraging you to complete a task, and it goes back to this first one. Your task for today is to consider a number of questions that you could have as you start any lesson. What sort of things could you be looking to find out during that lesson? Because your curiosity is what's going to drive your success. That's your task for today. Feel free to post them in the comments or discuss them with the people that you're in contact with. I look forward to hearing from them all.